Hello, and welcome to Love Has Many Faces. I am your host, Marilyn Milano, and we are bringing back a guest we have not had on for a little while, but she has been with us before, Lori Cohen of the Beagle Alliance. The groups that do the rescue of animals in laboratory experiments and who fight to reduce the amount of that being done around the world are heroes to me. And there are so many good groups doing good work. Sometimes it's hard to remember what everyone is doing. And we just feel that it's time to remind folks about the wonderful work that the Beagle Alliance is doing. So, to that end, we'll be talking with Lori Cohen in just a couple of minutes. Just a quick reminder, we are on the air 9 to 9:30 Pacific time every Tuesday morning. And our purpose is to raise awareness, touch hearts, and save the lives of animals. And in doing so, we help their people as well. So it's a win for everyone, and it's all about helping and spreading great information and educating folks. So please feel free to share links. Another quick reminder, we are now podcasting. So if you go to any place you find podcasts, or if you just type in the search bar, Love Has Many Faces podcast, the podcast should pop up. And again, we appreciate any help getting the word out. This is all about helping the animals and the people who love them. So we'll take a very short pause and come back and talk with Lori Cohen from the Beagle Alliance. I'm Marilyn Milano, your host of Love Has Many Faces here on Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi, I'm Coach Debbie from Story U Talk Radio, and I want to encourage you to write your book. Weekly, I offer topics about style and storytelling. I take your questions on our live show every Thursday at 4 o'clock, or you can subscribe to Story U, that's capital U, on any of your favorite platforms.
This is Martha Norwalk, every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to our acutonic and sound healer Jude Ponton at the Whispering Dragon Center in Shoreline. We cover the world of animals. This week, July 27th, it's an encore presentation, Behavior Training and Healing Sunday with me, and Talk with Your Human or Animal Loved Ones on this side or the other with Natasha Venter. We had a great show and lots of great calls, so I hope you can join us for Martha Norwalk's Animal World Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Make us part of your daily routine. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Love Has Many Faces. And again, very happy to be here once again with Lori Cohen from the Beagle Alliance. So Lori, welcome. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us.
Thank you, Marilyn. Always a pleasure as usual. I really just appreciate how much you care for the animals, and it's really quite an honor being with you and speaking with you.
Well, it's my pleasure. So since we haven't spoken for a while, and since there are probably people listening that did not hear previous conversations, how about just a quick overview of your group and what it is that you are doing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the Beagle Alliance is a CRA registered charity. So we're a Canadian registered charity who is really the only charity in Canada dedicated solely to animals and research. And I want to explain that a little bit because certainly there's other organizations in our country who help animals and research, but it is our main mission. And we're not only a rescue organization, but we are an advocacy organization. So we, not only do we rescue dogs from research facilities and place them into amazing homes, but we also advocate for animal-free science and talk a little bit about that both in Canada and the United States.
Yes. Way back when I was much, much younger, I became aware of the use of animals in laboratory research, and it very much upset me. There was a book out at the time called Slaughter of the Innocent, and I could only read the first bit of it because it detailed an experiment that was very difficult to hear about. I won't go into it here, but it also seemed that the purpose of it was useless. And I know now, especially with computer models and different things, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess my first question would be, what do you find is one of the biggest challenges in trying to get through to people about the alternative methods and why it's so difficult? And then the kind of follow-up question to that is, why are people still so invested in this when it's obviously cruel and in many cases not even relevant anymore?
Yeah, that is that's an amazing two-part question. And interestingly enough, I have an answer that almost doesn't even, it's a surprising answer, I feel, because the challenge is not so much that people are sticking to the fact that animals are used in testing. The challenge is that, and I'll speak from a Canadian perspective, and I do think that this applies to, the U.S. to a certain degree, but I have to say not as much as in Canada. The issue is not so much that people cling to the idea of animals used in testing and what that looks like. Honestly, the majority of people in Canada do not know that animals are used in testing. I interview people, I have conversations with people literally every day, people who apply to be fosters, people who apply to be adopters, and they have no idea. They absolutely think that we are getting former research beagles out of laboratories in the United States, which of course, for the most part, we are working with our rescue partner to place animals out of research facilities in the United States into Canada. But these people in Canada actually don't know that this whole thing goes on in our own country. And the reason that we are only able to get animals out of the U.S. facilities is because the U.S. actually has better laws than in Canada, and there's no federal legislation protecting these animals in our country, which is Canada.
That's unbelievable. So you feel that from what you are encountering, most people aren't even aware that this happens in Canada.
Most people aren't aware that it happens in Canada, and I'll even take it a step further, pretty much in the U.S. But certainly in Canada, every single foster that we end up working with, of course, and I want to say that they're the true heroes of our organization, because they take the dogs sight unseen without, I mean, honestly, we don't even know the gender of the dogs when we get them out until the very last moment. So they really just want to help a former research dog with knowing nothing about them. So truly, they're the true heroes of our organization. But no, they have no idea. They have no idea, and so it's very much a grassroots sort of advocacy situation, because they learn, that this is happening in Canada. And then, of course, when they foster or adopt a dog, they start talking about that with their family, their friends, their neighbors. Their neighbors see their dogs walking. But we are really at that point where it's very much a grassroots level of advocacy.
So it's amazing to me that so many people aren't aware. And from your perspective in Canada, I mean, now in the US here, it seems like anybody who cares about animals at all should be well aware of this. But I just wonder, is it because people don't want to talk about it? Is it because people think that all went away years ago? Why is it? I mean, are people hiding the information? What is going on?
Yeah, that's such a complicated, very complicated question. And of course, it'd be really hard for me. I will speculate, but
Okay.
it's certainly hard to speculate, right?
Right.
It's a secretive world. It's a secretive world of animal testing. I think that, oh gosh, Marilyn, I think that if so many more knew that it was going on, I think there'd be a little bit more of an uprising about it. I think that more people would speak to their politicians, and surely I hope that that would happen in a very kind and gentle way. I don't think we need to. I think we can all have the hope is that we can all have a civilized conversation and move towards better practices without shaming and without hate and that kind of thing that we sort of see in this world now. I think we should all be able to talk about our opinions and be able to say, let's move in a different direction together without it being an us versus them scenario. That would be the ideal. I think that surely the gold standard of medical research has been animal testing, but now we are at a point where, we realize, and there's statistics that animal-free science is both cost-effective. It obviously reduces harm for the animals, but also for the animal care workers. It takes a toll on people to have to harm animals and live with that daily. So it's not just about the animals; it's about the people involved. And then I think, and I'm going to throw this out there. Certainly, I challenge anyone to look at the statistics, but I think it's over 90% of drugs fail at the point of, when they're being tested after the animal use models. So it's not, I think we can do things better with less harm, more effective. Nobody's grandmother is going to be cured of Alzheimer's using the animal use model. We need to do things differently for both the animals and the humans.
Yes. And I have read things that say, for example, a sheep can eat arsenic safely. You cannot give chocolate to a dog. A cat can't have aspirin. Animals are different from people. So even if you don't have a heart for animals, and I have a huge heart for animals, and the thought of harming one absolutely makes me sick to my stomach. But even if you don't have that heart for animals and you're just all about trying to help people and, it's all in the name of science or whatever, these models clearly aren't the best models. And so, even for that maybe somewhat detached person that doesn't become emotional over the topic, it just doesn't make sense. And so my question, and again, I'm throwing this out here, I can't quote statistics, but I think it's because, again, based on some things that I've been reading, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there is money in it. There are jobs involved. It has become something that people are used to. And there is also, among the people who do understand that it's going on, that it even exists, I think there are two misconceptions. I think people think that it's necessary to save lives. And I think a lot of people have talked themselves into the thought that, oh, well, surely they're not being harmed. They're being taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. In all of what you said right now, there's so many, you touched on so many points just in what you said right there. I think I'll try to touch on a couple of those. I think interestingly enough, I think this might sound a little crazy, but I think that I think people know they're being harmed in animal testing, but they don't want to face it. And sometimes I think that we are, as a society, overstimulated with so much harm that, to protect ourselves, we have to not look at it, right? And honestly, I think that we've been so overstimulated by the harm of humans that we're used to it, and when we see an animal harmed, it's actually too overwhelming to handle. I think we've gotten to that point in our society where, shockingly, we can accept watching crime TV and watching all sorts of things and desensitizing our stuff, our what we watch, but when we still see animals harmed, I think it overwhelms us because of their innocence.
Yes.
People, even if an innocent person is in trouble, we all kind of realize that we're very flawed and we're not innocent as human beings. But when we see an animal in a state of harm, when we know how innocent they are, especially dogs, because they are our best friends and they are our family, and we take vacations with them, and we really alter our lives to just be with our dogs and to make sure their lives are great. And so I think that it's very hard for us as a society to handle that. And I get it. But I think we all know they're being harmed in testing. I get lots of emails or comments that, people say, well, if it saves my child, then I'm okay with it. And yeah, I mean, obviously, dear Lord, I get that. I mean, I understand, but it's not, most of animal testing is not saving anyone's child. And that's a statistical fact, and people can look that up, and we will certainly answer to that. And there's definitely statistics proving that. And of course, maybe that was true to a degree. Maybe there was more of a chance that we could get that data, 50 years ago, and it might have been a little bit more helpful. But we're in a different world now. Like there's computer modeling. There's other ways in which we can do things. So it's not that model. Maybe that model was as best as it could get at a certain point in time.
Yes.
But, hey, Marilyn, did we have iPhones 50 years ago? I mean, when I had to dial 911, it was a dial phone.
Oh, yes.
Which,
I remember.
My kid doesn't even know, right? My kid doesn't even know. But that 911 call was going to be that kind of rotary phone, and now we could just hit a button on our iPhone, and so things change, and we have to change with that.
Yes.
And we don't need to harm these animals anymore. For the most part, we really don't.
No. And I mean, a lot of universities I know in the United States have switched to computer models. There are some that still cling to these outdated things. Now, because we have limited time, and we'll talk again sooner than later, but I would like to ask, because one of the hardest things for people that are empathetic and kind-hearted and that want to see things get better is feeling that we have no control over it or that there's nothing we can do. What are some things people who care can do? And I know that your organization is in Canada, but whether it's to help your organization or to help organizations here in the US, what would you tell people who are sitting here thinking, I hate this, what can I do? I mean,
what can I do? Yeah, great question, because the worst place for us humans to be in is a place of helplessness. And we are not helpless. There are things we can do, and I appreciate that question. So, yes, we are in Canada, no problem, but we do rescue animals from laboratories in the U.S. with our rescue partner, Kindness Ranch Sanctuary. So we do work, we kind of have a tagline, dogs know no borders, because they don't. So we are absolutely working in North America to get these former research dogs into amazing homes after research. And so there is so much that people can do. Of course, they can foster and adopt, which for us as a foster-based organization, we don't have a sanctuary. We don't have a facility. So certainly foster and those are the true heroes for us.
Yes.
Of course, donating to a charity is a given, and we're really lucky because Canadians can donate and get an eligible tax receipt, but we also have a platform on Global Giving for our U.S. supporters to donate and get a tax receipt. So we're really lucky there. Of course, we always need transport. You know, we drive dogs across the U.S. and Canada to their forever homes, so people can certainly volunteer. And the easiest thing, Marilyn, the easiest thing, even if you have no time to do all these things, the easiest thing is to go on our social media, the Beagle Alliance, just share our posts, share. The bottom line is people don't know that animal testing is happening in Canada. They don't know that it's happening in the U.S. So sharing is huge and so important. And people don't realize that just sharing on social media is a big deal.
Well, it's huge. And I remember a saying years ago that I heard, if you can't adopt, foster, if you can't foster, donate, if you can't donate, or no, if you, what was it? If you can't adopt, foster, if you can't foster, volunteer, if you can't volunteer, donate, if you can't donate, share an email or share information, because knowledge is power. And again, I agree with you. I think many people are overwhelmed. They turn their heads away. They don't want to see it. They don't want to know about it. There's so many things that are upsetting that are happening in our world right now that it is overwhelming. And if you're a sensitive person, which I am, it can be too much. But we must stay awake and we must keep moving forward. And I want to see animal testing end. And like you said, this is not, you guys aren't folks that are, going in and threatening people that work in laboratories, or it's not some radical organization. This is an organization that is working through trying to find mutual understanding by sharing info, by helping these animals, because I know at one point people thought, oh, well, these animals have been tested on, now they won't make good pets. And I've seen many stories about wonderful animals the first time they touch the grass or that they have them in the home. Now we're down to just a couple of minutes, but I just wonder if you happen to have a story of a rescue or, getting some dogs or cats set free, or maybe someone who found a new home. I'm just wondering if we can end on maybe a note of happiness.
Yeah, we can. We can always end on a note of happiness, because you're right. The world is overwhelmed, and unfortunately, the news and everything focuses on the negative, and I think the positive, and we say this right on our website, that we want to help them go from lab to love. And I have, a pretty good history. I've worked for a couple of organizations until founding the Beagle Alliance. I've seen hundreds of dogs go from laboratory testing into incredible homes. I get texts and photos literally daily, years after people had thought, and the laboratories had thought, that these dogs would never be able to go on to live lives outside of the laboratory. So if anyone really wants to take a look, they can go to thebeaglealliance.org, check out our rescues, go to, I think the tag is Join Us, and you'll see rescues under that. And honestly, Marilyn, you can see the rescues of the dogs walking on the grass for the first time, the first rescues. And then if you look at our social media, you will see the progression of the dogs and how. And I think this is the magical part, is that these are animals who end up trusting the very species who harm them. And that's a pretty magical thing.
Well, as I've seen posted many times, we don't deserve dogs, but thank goodness for them. I have 3. I've had dogs since I was a young child. I have a huge heart for all animals, and I cannot imagine ever doing harm to a helpless creature, to an animal. And I think education, I think sharing stories, letting people know, it's so important. So I see we're out of time. Whenever there's a topic that is of interest, that is pertinent, that when we're talking about it, there's passion there, the time flies. But we'll have you come back maybe for an update at the end of the summer, just to chat a little bit more, because there's a lot here to cover. But we've been speaking with Lori Cohen of the Beagle Alliance, which is a rescue and advocacy organization in Canada that also works with partners here in the United States. Please check out the beaglealliance.org to learn more. Lori, thank you so much for being here today. I believe in your work. I truly support you.
Thank you, Marilyn. As usual, you and I have spoken in the past, and your advocacy is incredible. And we're just it takes all of us. So I just can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Well, we all do what we can and never think it's too little. Do what you can, even if it's a tiny bit, or as the old Eagles tune said, do something. So we're going to take a short break and come right back. We've been talking with Lori Cohen of the Beagle Alliance. I am Marilyn Milano, your host of Love Has Many Faces here on Alternative Talk 1150. Love dogs? Love doing good? Then don't miss Pause for Hope, a summer fundraiser supporting Toby's Hope for canine cancer care. Join Toby's Hope on Saturday, August 9th at Old Stove Brewing Gardens in Ballard for an afternoon of tail-wagging fun. Think pup cups, raffle prizes, a doggy selfie station, do-it-yourself dog art, and even a tattoo pop-up. Every ticket supports families facing the heartbreaking costs of canine cancer treatment. Grab your tickets today at givebutter.com/pause for Hope 2025 and come out to make a difference, one paw at a time.
Want to hear something different from talk radio? Keep your dial on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Love Has Many Faces. I'm your host, Marilyn Milano, and we just had a wonderful and inspiring conversation with Lori Cohen of the Beagle Alliance. Please check out the beaglealliance.org to learn what you can do to help laboratory animals find better homes, and also what you can do to help find better models for research that don't harm our beloved fellow creatures. So anyway, thank you for being with us. Remember, we're being podcast now, so you can find the podcast anywhere. Just type in Love Has Many Faces podcast, and it should pop right up. Have a great rest of your week. We'll be back again. I'm Marilyn Milano, your host of Love Has Many Faces here on Alternative Talk 1150.